man, I really did feel for Nani, because watching the Stitch just tear that house up in live action, I was like,
in animation, Stitch is a lovable ball of chaos who goes too far.
Yeah.
And this live action one, he's an asshole. He's a problem.
Yeah.
He's a big problem.
No, he's huge.
And he is not lovable. I'm like, this thing has got to go.
All right, now this is in live action. This ain't funny. The girl lose her job.
That's what I'm saying. It's not funny.
And CPS is always right around the corner. Y'all better put this damn dog to sleep. Double Toasted's 11th year anniversary party is coming up. Join us for a full weekend of live music, shows, comedy, after parties, a movie screening, and more. Get your tickets by going to dtanniversary.eventbrite.com or use the QR code right there to take you to the site and get your tickets today. And I'll be back at the Broadway Comedy Club June 27th for my own style of sit-down comedy. You'll also be doing some open mic. So get your tickets now by going to doubletoastedny.com. Use that QR code right there. Or you can go to doubletoasted.com. Speaking of animation, well, let's talk about what really started all in this country, making animation mainstream, that Disney. Them Disney knees. Disney, man. Oh, man, I remember when they used to do animation. Instead of making everything a live action remake. But hey, you know what? This one right here, I said might be the one, and that is Lilo and Stitch. Oh, man. Or you might know him as Experiment 626.
That's how I know him.
Oh.
That's what his mama named him. That's what I call him.
626. But mama named him 626. You gonna call him 626? Just the ultimate weapon is what some people say.
Sure.
Created for pure destruction.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing but a little blue ball of hate and assholery. The only thing that can stop such a terrible little creature is a sweet little Hawaiian girl right here, which is not true. She's just as bad as he is.
She is.
Sometimes she worse. Sometimes Stitch even like, damn, Lilo, slow down.
Have you had her diagnosed? I bet some Ritalin or something could really chill her out.
Well, look at them crazy eyes she got. Shit, even Stitch like, hey, it's cool. Yeah, you better back the hell up, Stitch.
And boy, the two of them together, forget about it.
Oh, boy. Man. So this is, of course, the live action remake to Lilo and Stitch. And a lot of people say, well, look, you know, Lilo and Stitch it's a classic. It's a phenomenon. And if they just follow the blueprint that the original laid out, then they'll be all right. To which I say, then what's the point? I mean, besides making money, yeah, okay, but
I mean, that's kind of the point with all of these.
Yep.
I mean, almost every one of them comes out, we're like, what's the point of this?
Exactly, Martin. And I said that about everything except this. This is the one where I looked at and I said, you know what? Give this one a chance.
The Great Blue Hope.
The Great Blue Hope right here. Hey, look, who can resist the charms of Lilo? Who can resist how Stitch found his heart and learned to quit being an asshole and learn to love and learn the meaning of family? Mm-hmm. You know, who can turn that down? That's such
Ohana.
Ohana, boy. Who would have, you know, if you take this and just keep the heart that this movie has, that's all we're kind of asking for. You're going to be all right. Well, I said that, and then I watched the original a few days ago. And did that change my mind? Did that turn me around? Well, we're going to find out right now as we get into this trailer. And we're going to see if Lilo, the team of Lilo and Stitch, if they can actually break this streak of me hating these live action Disney remakes. Will this be the one to melt my heart? Let's find out right after this.
We have apprehended a dangerous experiment. Where is he?
Hey, what are you doing?
No.
This is the story, as the original, this is the story of a little blue menace from outer space that came down and was left here on exile on Earth. And they thought that, well, it's just Earth. Let them just tear that hole up, man. But he found a little girl, 6-year-old girl named Lilo. And as I said, learned the meaning of family. And together, they both found the good inside of them. Because Lilo, of course, she has a very tragic past. She lost her parents. She only has a sister, Nani, to raise her. And that's a hard job in itself. And they find themselves drifting apart to the point where Lilo might be taken away by CPS.
Which might not be the worst thing.
I'm sorry to say. The last thing she needs is a little blue Tasmanian demon in her life.
Yeah.
But hey, can he find a heart and also find the heart to bring this family together and keep her from being taken away? So, listen, man. And I this might annoy you, and I'm trying not to annoy you. I'm trying not to annoy y'all out there. But
forget about them. Don't annoy me.
Okay, I give no guarantees.
All right.
Okay,
All
but here's the thing, Martin.
Yeah.
And it's not for I'm not saying it's for everybody. It's not a blanket statement, but I imagine for a lot of people, if you have seen the original Lilo and Stitch, then it is almost impossible to not separate that from the new.
Sure.
I mean, it's just you can't. But that's what I'm saying. It's annoying if you just go through this whole review and keep saying, but it ain't like the movie. It ain't like the original.
Yeah.
It ain't like the Lilo and Stitch I know. That's annoying to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway. No, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try to separate the two. But can I talk about how this stands up against the original? Just for a little bit.
I'm annoyed already, but go ahead.
Okay. All right. I'll try to get through this as fast as possible, and I'll try not to make it as even, man, you like, that ain't possible already.
Yeah.
Look,
just,
you might
just do your thing.
You might be able to separate the two movies, but you can't separate your annoying ass from yourself or me. But
just do your thing.
But let me
don't worry about me.
Let me get this out the way first.
Okay.
And then I will give a review where I'm not sitting up here comparing it.
Okay.
But I gotta say this because I just saw the original again. I hadn't seen it in years, and I love it so much. I mean, that truly is right up there, one of my favorite Disney movies now. I can say that, with all honesty. It's
funny because I don't know that it ever was before until I watched it today. And it was just like, because it's been years since I've seen it. My kids just watch it all the time. And I saw, and you and I saw it together in the theater at that screening. But watching it today, I was kind of floored by it.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It is an incredible film. And it's one of Disney's, it's one of their more modest movies. It's not using the big 18 they use for something like Little Mermaid or Beauty and the Beast. But it's right up there with their classics as far as I'm concerned. So when you come out with this remake right here and you compare it up to the original, it really does miss the point of what made that original so appealing. What made that one of the biggest things that made that original so cool and so appealing and so fun. And some of this I'm going to repeat from the retro review that we did. But first of all, it was just the absurd humor that they fully embraced. I'm looking at some of the jokes that they were able to do in that animated one that, they really can't get away with here, such as, Pleakley using the Viewmaster.
Oh, yeah.
Little things like that, man. The silly reactions from some characters. Some characters they were acting bad as cartoon characters. They were acting bad on purpose, which made it even funnier.
I got a new dog. His name is Stitch. Somebody do something.
I love them. Wah!
She sounded like Lucy when she got kissed by Snoopy.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Wah!
Yeah. Get it away from me. That's the ugliest dog I've ever seen.
Black dog lips.
Yeah.
Losing like, you racist bitch. But that, that reaction right there, those things are some of the cleverness that's missing in this movie for me. And it shows why some stories that are designed for animation really should stay in animation.
Yeah, well, if you're not going to keep them in animation, you have to fit them for the live action format. You have to go in and say, okay, we can't do this. We can't do that.
Yeah.
Do this. So we'll do this instead. But that instead needs to be something on the same level.
Yeah.
You,
I hear what you're saying.
You know, you're just like, hey, I can't give you that, but what if I give you this? And you go like, well, that's only half of what this was.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
No, you're exactly right. And what I mean by some things are lost in animation, I mean jokes that are there and work because that is the joke. It's an animation. Some of the, further going on this absurd thing that they do, or the absurd things that they did in this movie, like one of the jokes is that they're cartoon characters looking at live action movies.
Yeah.
You remember when Stitch went up to the TV and was watching that Attack of the Giant Spider or whatever?
Yeah.
Why are cartoons living in the same way with these human beings? As, I said before, is this Roger Rabbit or something?
Sure.
I don't know. But who knows? It's just the weirdness is the joke.
Sure.
The weirdness is why it's funny.
Yeah. And also the way, this movie just has a lot of personality, almost like because it wasn't Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
It didn't have that same supervision. It's almost like, well, you're over here doing your thing. Oh, well, cool. I'll have things that are absurd.
Yeah.
Live action show that they're watching in the cartoon. And you know what? Elvis was always associated with Hawaii. Let's make Elvis his music part, almost a character in the movie. At least the flavor of it.
Yeah, that's true. And by the way, they used a real picture of Elvis.
Yeah.
Also, Lilo and Stitch, now you watch this and Lilo, she's a bad kid, both in the original and in the remake, the live action remake. But there's a mean streak in Lilo and Stitch that they won't dare touch in the live action remake. Because there's a scene where Lilo's getting bullied by these girls and she retaliates by pushing one of the little girls and just pushed her real hard, knocked her down. Shit, the real Lilo was gangster, man. She didn't push that shit. She beat her ass.
She did.
Bitch, what you say? And they showed the punch. They showed the connect to her face.
Yes, they did.
And that's something that they won't do here. It's almost like they're afraid to even push it that far.
Right.
But, this is where I'll start to leave. This is where I'll start to leave this whole thing of comparing and move on to the movie that we saw. But the movie missed one of my favorite moments. And I think it's a real crucial moment that's a turnaround for Stitch. And they didn't do it here. They didn't do anything like it. One of my complaints is that Stitch just kind of turns too quick, kind of becomes nice too quick, or whatever you want to say. But it was done in a way that, man, I get choked up every time I see it. When he realizes that he's bad, and he realizes that he's bad because he's like, well, I ain't got nobody. I don't even know where I'm from. And he goes to the woods after he's been read The Ugly Duckling by Lilo. And one of the pages says, the Ugly Duckling went to the woods, looked up in the sky and said, I'm lost. And then his real family, the swans, showed up. And so he tries it. And that's heartbreaking because no one shows up. It's a moment where he's trying to find himself and it's not working. And they don't really have a moment like that in this movie.
No. Yeah, there was also when he decided to leave when Lilo was actually hurt and angry at him. And that's a very poignant moment that this film misses. Yeah, people. I don't want to come in and hate on this movie just because it's another live action remake, but there's a reason why I'm disappointed in these movies, and it's because there's a magic in those classics. Now, if y'all want to go and make Home on the Range with them cows and Brother Bear and all, you can knock yourself out. Right.
You want to make Chicken Little and all that, you go right ahead. But there's a magic to those classics, and it's really just hard to recapture when you go into live action. And they probably could do it, but they're such a money-making product that they get them out too fast.
Yeah.
So that said, if I hadn't seen the original, I'm gonna try to pretend like I have it as hard as I can and as possible as I can. But if I hadn't seen the original, I would think that the stronger elements from the original movie, they would still be entertaining here. Not as strong, because they do a lot of things and they're just mimicking.
Yeah.
And it's like, stop, because you ain't as good as that.
Yeah.
But they're just mimicking. But because those things are conceived so well in the original, they're still entertaining here. Might not be as good, but they're still fun. For example, Stitch. Stitch is obviously the most interesting character, and he's a wise move. He's still voiced by Chris Sanders, the director of the original.
Right.
Who went on to do
the
Wild
writer
Robot.
and director of the original. His the whole thing was his brainchild.
Yeah, no, it sure was. You know, he's still doing the voice. That's cool. I like the design of Stitch because now that's one of the interesting things of bringing him over to live action. How you gonna bring this animated character and how you gonna make him look in real life, quote unquote. But I think it's a great effect, man. You know, he looks like
He's well animated.
Yeah, he's well animated, man. But he's an alien that looks like he could exist in real life. You know, he's got the wet nose and those watery eyes, those big moist eyes, the fur. Every now and then, when he's going real feral, you know, he looks like a damn wild raccoon or a wild koala, possum or something. You know, I like that, but I also think that the animators, it was a tricky thing to do with this character, man. You know, to bring in his character and try to make him look like something that exists while also capturing some of the movements from the animation that was in the original. You know, they do that. So, you know, you have the Nani character, and then you have Lilo. Let me just say, Lilo, man. Listen, man, it's hard not to like that little girl played by Mia Kealoha. Man, she's very cute. She's bad. Don't get me wrong. She needs her ass whooped, but you know, I think one of the things that they actually do in this movie that probably was missing from the original is that, you know, I think they give her a better explanation for her behavior. Because the thing is, as much as I love the animated little Lilo right here, I want to choke her ass sometimes. Because if you watch her, she's so bad, but she looks like she's bad because she's taking pleasure just out of making life difficult for people.
I did not feel that way. And with our new live action Lilo, I want to choke her a lot more.
Oh man, that's interesting.
Yeah, with the animated Lilo, I was like, yeah, she's got her moments where she acts out, but she actually is a very loving kid.
Yeah.
And boy.
No, this is interesting because I like hearing this because I disagree, but this is cool because I love both of them, but I thought she was way more misbehaved, and they did it because the movie's more humorous.
Yeah. I just saw her as a young girl who's acting out every so often, but also she feels very isolated. Like she doesn't have friends, and then when she tries to make friends over and over, they reject her. So she's always alone, and you know she comes off as being weird, but that's just part of it. And you know her parents are gone, her sister's gone. She's left by herself a lot, and I totally got that. Whereas the movie Lilo, I was just like, God, would you settle the down? Did you? How many ways does it have to be explained to you what's at stake here?
See, that's where I feel the opposite.
Yeah.
I feel like this version was doing that. Where well, this version was she had more reason to behave like she did, where the animated Lilo was just doing it. I'll give you an example of where it felt different for me. In the original, Lilo is being weird. Now there's even arguments that she has autism today. I'm not saying that.
I wouldn't say autism. She's just acting out.
She's just embraced by the autistic community now today.
Okay.
She's like an autistic hero.
All right.
I was reading this because I was like, when I was doing research for the retro, they were saying this. And I'm not saying that. The point is, that's not even the point. The point is like, she was acting weird and doing some crazy things. And she finally, the instructor said, all right, look, sit your ass down and let your sister come get you.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that instructor shut the door, her little ass took off.
Yeah.
And now her sister's like, damn, they told her to sit here. Now I got to go all around town looking for you. Where in the new one, they kind of explained why she's acting out because she was waiting for her sister to show up to a recital.
Right.
Who did not show up.
Right.
So I felt like, all right, I see why she's lashing out because her sister's so busy that, and in both versions is the case, but more so here, her sister's so busy that she actively really is not there. Where in the other one is just kind of like, well, if ain't nobody around to stop me, I'm gonna do crazy stuff. So that, I'm not just disagreeing with it. I think there's two ways to look at it. That's why I say this is interesting.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody gonna be, Team Lilo or Team Lilo.
Well, but there's another element from the original that's missing in this one, and that element is, as much as in the original, Lilo and Nani, her sister, they have their mix-ups, their knockarounds because of Lilo not being where she was supposed to be. But at the end, it all ends in a tickle fight and loving each other, and they really do act like sisters who love each other.
You're talking about in the
animated one.
Oh, in the animated. Well, yeah.
But where in this live action one, they spend a lot of time apart. Like whenever they're together, it's Nani is screaming at her, usually for good reason, but she's gone all the time. And the movie focuses on Nani a lot, but mostly about her frustration with not having a job. And I don't get that loving bond between the two of them. Like watching the original, I could see the way the two of them interacted, the way my daughters interacted with each other.
Okay.
And with this live action one, I was like, I didn't get that feeling from this at all.
Yeah, I see. I didn't want to come in and nitpick, but this is me coming in and talking about how they're missing scenes. There's so many beautiful things in that original that you just don't capture here. Whether it be with Stitch or whether it be with Lilo and Nani, man, they never have a scene as tender as this where they spend one last, what they think is going to be one last moment, because Nani's about to, listen, and I'm talking about the original. It's a little bit of a spoiler. Nani's possibly about to lose Lilo. And so they have one moment together where she can't hardly explain to her what's going on because she just can't bring herself to do it. And then they have this moment. This feels like a moment that is thought out because they had time to really invest in the story, which is the original, and they really wanted to get those emotional moments across. This one feels so rushed that they don't have a moment like that.
Yeah, it's rushed because watching it today, I was surprised by how many tender moments are in that original movie.
Yeah.
And with the new one, it's just it's going from one thing to the next.
Yeah. And I will say though that like I said, I didn't hate this situation. It just was lacking for me. I feel like being in live action, they try to ground this a little bit more. They try to make it more serious. So, the Nani, who's played by Sydney Ayudong, I think that's how you say her name. It does feel like the pressure's on for her to do better because the Child Protective Services person who's played by Tia Carrere. She's constantly around. It ain't like Cobra Bubbles in the first movie where he was just coming around every now and then. She's always around. So I feel the pressure for her to get her life straight, to try to actually get, try to make a home for Lilo. And the actress doesn't have much to do but look frustrated through the movie. But I like her. But I tell you this, I like her because she has patience. And it's enough to deal with Lilo. But when she bring that damn demon around, when she brings Stitch around, I tell you, man, that's when I felt like, okay, I as much as I think this remake is lacking, man, I really did feel for Nani, because watching Stitch just tear that house up in live action, I was like,
in animation, Stitch is a lovable ball of chaos who goes too far.
Yeah.
And this live action one, he's an asshole. He's a problem. Yeah. He's a big problem.
No, he's huge.
And he is not lovable. I'm like, this thing has got to go. Look at what he's doing.
He's a feral animal at this point. Somebody need to take him in the back and shoot him in the back of his head.
And I'm like, wait, everybody, they talk about how smart you are. Why don't you act like it? What are you doing right now?
No, he's a terror. I mean, and it's not, sometimes, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes I don't feel as bad about it as you do, because I was kind of laughing, but it just made me feel more for Nani, because it's like, all right, now this is in live action. This ain't funny, the girl lose her job. That's what I'm saying. It's not funny. And CPS is always right around the corner. Y'all better put this damn dog to sleep.
And no dogs on the table.
Why not?
Because people eat off them.
Nani.
Stitch ain't helping.
No.
with the situation.
Oh, he's
Not
the
at all.
opposite of helping.
No, I would have taken his ass out and back and beat the shit out of him. Ain't nobody gonna deal with your ass. Nobody should have to.
Yeah, send those other aliens home. Like it's done. Yeah.
See, let me just say this: those earlier parts bothered you more than it bothered me, but it's once you start leaving the character of Lilo, and once you started getting outside of their relationship with Stitch and Nani and all those characters. I even like that they gave in this movie. I like that they gave Nani even a support group. Like she has a neighbor that helps with that, which, in live action, it would seem a little weird that you have this girl who's probably 18 or 19 years old trying to take care of this kid with no help from anybody at all. So I like that they did that in the movie.
Yeah.
But once they leave that sphere, once they leave that circle, that's where the movie kind of starts to go downhill for me.
Yeah.
Because there's emotion in that story that kind of helps. But once you start getting to some of these side characters, they're not doing much with them. So you got the characters of Pleakley and Jumba from the original right here that you see. In the remake, they're played by Zach Galifianakis and Billy Magnuson. And in this one, they actually, they don't want to pay for the effects for this movie. So in the original, they never changed to
right. They just
humans.
They just threw on like wigs and coats. And it's part of the joke. And in animation, you could do that. And I could see how, you get the live action. It's like, I don't know how that'll fly. I mean, it actually could if you took the time, but they weren't looking to do that.
No. And listen, Billy Magnuson plays Pleakley, Zach Galifianakis plays Jumbo, however you say his name. And I like both those actors. I think Billy Magnuson, he's one of those guys who's real handsome, but it was always playing goofy. The goofball.
Yeah.
So at this point, he's kind of honed in the whole physical comedy thing. So he's perfect for playing Pleakley, especially with Pleakley trying to establish himself or get adapted to mixing in with human beings, trying to learn to walk like humans. All right, that's kind of funny. And I like that Zach Galifianakis is taking a different approach to this character.
It's almost like they merged the two characters from Lilo and Stitch, of Jumba and I forgot the big shark guy.
Yeah, what was that guy's name, y'all? Y'all know who we're talking about because he's not in the movie on this, and I can see why they probably wouldn't have him in the movie. But thing is, man, I think they play a role in the story, but they don't really have much to do outside of following Stitch around and just being gags for physical comedy.
Yeah, some physical comedy gags and they aren't there for much. Like they don't write much for them. It's like you go like, is what written for them bad? I'm like, I don't know, because they don't do it.
They don't do anything.
Long. Yeah, it's like you watch that story, you're like, could we have left the two of them out of this?
Yeah, they don't, man. They don't do anything in the movie. They just jump, they fall over each other. They're doing, like, as I said, just a bunch of physical slapstick jokes. For some reason, no, I know why. Billy Magnuson, he's dressing up in girls' clothes because he's trying to do the cross-dressing thing like Pleakley did in the original, but they don't really do much with it. It's just a sight gag that's kind of just confusing. They don't really have a joke behind it. They don't give any context for it. So all this stuff, again, feels like it's rushed or thrown together.
Start traveling, please.
And are you enjoying the hotel?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I mean,
I'm obviously being sarcastic.
Go!
Do y'all see how that scene is kind of going nowhere?
Yeah, that's the thing for Zach Galifianakis to be such a funny, comedic actor. They write nothing for him.
And he plays it kind of straight. He's the straight man.
Yeah, he's the straight man.
Also, that's the Federation leader. Shame.
Yeah.
Shame. What's her name?
Heather Waddingham.
Who's in 2 movies this weekend.
That's right.
Mission Impossible and this damn alien right here. So in the original, man, you got such a memorable performance from Ving Rhames as Cobra Bubbles.
Hi. You must be the
stupid head. They give Ving Rhames not only a great design in that movie because it looks like him. They give him some great lines, and he's not in the movie a whole lot, so he's in the movie a perfect amount of time. The character, and his name is Cobra Bubbles, and again, they don't really explain why, which makes it funnier. And this one, Cobra Bubbles, is played by Courtney B. Vance. I don't even know why they got this brother in here. I don't understand. There is a reason
There's a
why
reason.
They could have him, but they don't play it up too well.
No,
I don't think
no.
they don't use him well.
No, they don't. They don't. Plus, you can't help but go. I love Courtney B. Vance. I think
I
he's
do
a great
too.
actor. But for this role,
Nah.
like the other day, somebody mentioned Makad Brooks. I was like, oh, he actually would have been really good for that.
Billy's brother?
Yeah,
Billy's
yeah.
brother would have been great
Yeah.
to play Cobra Bubbles. Yeah, could you imagine him? Could you imagine him coming up to Stitch talking about ashtray, bitch? I'm good. I'll be good. I good. Nah, Courtney B. Vance. There's a reason to have him in the movie, but they don't use it well. That like this brother might as well. If they used him well, he would have a great purpose in the film. But I can tell you right now, the way they use him, if they took him out, he wouldn't be missed.
Right.
You wouldn't miss him at all.
Right. Because you're like, where's this character? Oh, there he is. Oh. Well, all right. Okay. All right.
Somebody said Tyler Perry's Lilo and Stitch.
Aw.
Hey, man, probably would have came out more interested in what we got right here. Man, I don't hate the movie. Because I tell you, ultimately the movie has kept the most important thing that made the first one so good.
Stitch.
Stitch, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry, two important things. Stitch and Heart. And, they do something near the end of the movie with Stitch that's pretty emotional. And I was, and that was cool. And listen, I just came off of a live action remake that I hate. I did not like that Snow White at all. I think that's an aberration.
Abomination.
No, aberration. I'm making up a new word for abomination. It's an abhorrent abomination, an aberration. No, it's like I think this movie's I think this movie's an abomination. I think this movie is a travesty. I think this movie is an insult to Disney. I did not really have the strong feelings that I have for this movie as I did for Snow White. So as long as you retain the heart in this film, now I'm talking for people who this is not for me. Just tell you that right now. I can leave this movie and never see it again, forget about it, and never return to it. The remake, that is. But I'm thinking about the kids that are seeing it. I'm thinking about people who have seen it for the first time. Hopefully, it'll make you watch the original, which is 10 times better, 100 times better. But as long as you got the emotional heart in this, it just makes the cash grab seem a little less obvious. And so I'll give this a high rental.
I'd like to talk about this movie, how I felt about it, not having rewatched before I rewatched the original. And what I could say watching it was that it's a movie. It's a remake. It's I always say, look, if you're gonna make these and you can't do a 1-for-1, do something different or trade it out for something like, hey, instead of that, give us something else. The movie, just taken as itself, I just thought this feels like a well-funded, with better production values, Disney Channel movie. Mm-hmm. It just had so much of those same kind of Disney Channel, like one of the better ones for sure, but it didn't a movie you go see on the big screen. It's more sweeping. There's just more craft put into it, and this didn't quite have that. I mean, I'm like you. It's a high rental. It's really something I would say. You can watch on Disney Plus and be really happy you saw it there.
When I saw it, I walked down and said, "It's another one."
Yeah,
That's it. It's just another.
It's
one.
another one.
I'm not gonna remember this either.
Yeah.
Wow. When you say it's a Disney Plus movie, I can see that. Julian is online right now, and he said that it was originally supposed to be a Disney Plus movie.
It felt that way.
It felt flat.
Yeah. Flat. That's the word.
Yeah, I was Julian's saying that it was supposed to be on Disney Plus, and I can see that because that's the thing. It felt rushed. It felt flat, and whatever was lacking, it was lacking because they just didn't. And that's the funny thing about it. If you look at the original Lilo and Stitch, I mean, it doesn't have the high budget like some of their bigger movies out there, but they did a lot with it. Like the watercolor backgrounds was harking back to the golden age of Disney.
Yeah.
The character designs is beautiful. Mm-hmm. The animation. Mm-hmm. And look, it might not be their highest tier, but it's still excellent. They did a lot with a smaller budget. And here, They had a smaller budget and they did exactly what they did with that.
Yeah. And and
Or maybe it is a larger budget. It's just no, man, that's what I meant to say.
Adjusted for inflation. I don't know.
I bet it is a higher budget, but yet it feels like it's a lower budget.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, they consolidate characters and plot lines, which should make it shorter, yet it's longer than the animated movie.
Man, don't even get me started. Tired of long ass movies.
I mean, I won't say it's a long ass movie, but it's like an hour and 45 minutes, where the original was an hour and 34 minutes.
Yeah, this is $100 million.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like $100 million.
No.
It looks like Lilo cost, probably the chunk of the money.
That's Stitch.
I mean, I keep doing that.
I know.
I keep doing that. But Stitch, you can tell Stitch. I'll give no, Lilo need $100 million ass whooping. But no, Stitch, you can tell Stitch costs money, but the rest of the movie doesn't look like it matches his that effect right there.
Matter of fact, they cut corners to make all that happen.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. I don't know. Again, it's my bias in there. I don't like these live action remakes unless you're really doing something with it. As I said, man, it's throw this on the pile. But hey, if you got kids, go check it out. And I even heard some people who saw the original and they really like this too. So, just us. Yeah, you see for yourself, make your decision on your own. And then we'll come back and tell you how full of shit you are. We'll be waiting for you outside the theater. What you doing watching that movie?
You ain't like that, did you?
You better not. Go home.
What you going in there to see? Thought we see the Lilo and Stitch. Nah.
No, you're not. Or would you look at that? You made it to the end of the video. That means you really like us. So just go ahead and press that like button and subscribe while you're at it. And check out our other channels, our social media like Instagram, TikTok, and our Patreon, where we have new stuff coming up all the time. And we'll see you on the next video.